Hi everybody, this is Rhys Barber from Audiology Associates. I know I am a disembodied voice. I'm in my other clinic today, so I haven't got my recording equipment down here, but I thought I'd voice over this one. We've gone old school on the video like we used to for this particular one. So what you can see here, this lovely gent came through, and he's very, very blocked up. You can see the wax is very impacted against the eardrum on both sides here. So difficult one to do because the wax has gone so deep and it's very, very sticky. What you can see here is we've got the standard size ulnar tube on there, and I'm just hovering basically over this wax, not pressing into it at all because we don't want to push it up against the eardrum even further, but just sort of hovering just above it and then drawing the wax to the suction tube. You can see we've uncovered half of that eardrum, so the left hand side there is uncovered. So what I'm doing now is just working my way around the side there. I've popped a little bit of olive oil. The reason for that is this wax is very, very sticky, so it does help when you're trying to remove that off the eardrum. It does help to sort of work down behind that wax and forms that little barrier, so it stops the sticky wax from re-sticking to the eardrum. So I'm just pulling from the top here. There we go. You can see that top section's come away really nicely. Was sort of hoping it would pull a lot more of this wax from the anterior recess here. You can see that very sort of almost conker coloured wax we've got going on there. Aiming now for the bottom section here. We're going to try and draw this out of the recess if we can. With sticky wax, you really want to get a really good grip if we can, which is why I'm staying with the standard size ulnar tube on here rather than the fine end. With very soft and sticky wax like this, with the fine end, you'll just block the end. You wouldn't really get a good suction grip. But you can see I'm starting to lift, hold on to that wax and draw it across. You can see pulling it out of that little valley, that anterior recess there. Now you can see it starting to move. It's I just broke a little bit off the top, so we're just going to try and move this next section's not a great deal to work with here. Let's see if we can just hold on to it enough. If we can pull enough of this top section around, we'll be able to get this whole chunk from that recess. There, look how that is starting to tease out of that little corner there. Really, really starting to come away. Oh, it's almost there. There it goes. It's really starting to go now. Really gentle, not pulling too hard on it. We don't want to snap it off. There we go. And out that lifts on that recess. Look how much was hiding down in that little valley there. You can see just how much wax was right down and pressed between the side of that canal wall and the actual eardrum itself. Now, one thing I did promise this lovely patient, his granddaughter watches these videos, so I did want to say a quick hello to Elsie Lee. I did promise I'd give her a shout out. I was meant to put this in last week's video and I completely forgot to do this one. This is why it's in today's. But you can see that the eardrum now looking a lot better there. Really sort of healthy, good. Like reflexes, maybe a little bit down, but that eardrum has been a little bit pulled in there. So this is the patient's other ear. So you can see here, very, very similar story on this side. Really kind of jammed up against that eardrum, and just going to try lifting from the bottom here. I forgot to say at the start, guys, there are actually 3 patients in this video. The last patient in the video was the one I told you about last week with being sort of waxing their ears for about 50 years. I'll explain that one a bit later on, so stay tuned for the last one as well. So we're just sort of lifting from the base here, hoping it's going to stay together in one big chunk, but you can see it's really kind of holding on for grim death in there. So we're just popping a little bit of olive oil in just to loosen this up a little bit, getting a good grip on that bottom edge. You can see how I'm lifting a little bit, then repositioning the suction tube just that little tiny bit lower to try and grab the next section that's starting to lift up. I'm trying to hold it together in one big piece. What we really don't want to happen here is for this piece of wax to start breaking away, and then once it breaks away, then it's going to be really difficult to get another really good grip on this. You can see a bit of surface wax there has just started to come away. Get this out of the ear canal, only a tiny little bit, but just enough to block the end of the suction tube. So we'll get rid of that first, go back in now, try and lift from that base section again. Oh, it's really just so sticky. You can see the remnants. If you look to the bottom right corner, just diagonally down from the suction tube, you can see a little hint of blue, and that's the eardrum itself. So we can see that it's actually physically stuck to the drum, this one. And it's really just we talked last week about the consistency of being like a bit like the inside of a fig Newton or a fig roll here in the UK. It is this very, very tacky, sort of slightly granulated type of wax. Never an easy one to get away, and you can see it's just smothered all over the eardrum. So you can see how this poor patient would have had some real difficulties here being able to hear very well, because this has just completely covered that drum. More olive oil going in here again now. And it's just starting to come away. I apologize for my voice again this week, guys. I'm really sorry. I've come down with a bit of a cold. I'm doing okay though, don't worry. But it's made my voice a little bit strange. So I'm just getting this bottom, lifting this bottom section. Oh, you can see. You've got to be ultra cautious here. I've got the standard size Zonotube on here, but as we said for the last year, I'm literally just hovering above. We've just switched down now to the fine end. The reason for that is I've got to get into this left hand side here, and the standard size Zonotube is just a little bit too wide to get down onto that particular section. And you can see what I'm having to do here is very similar to the other side, so very gently teasing this off the eardrum. Now if there'd been a little bit more there to work with, if it had sort of spread across the eardrum just a little bit more, I would have gone on with the standard size Zonotube. But with this one, because it's so thin, we've got to use that fine end to do that, and it's always a really delicate process because you're holding on to the wax and you're kind of drawing it across, but trying not to put any sort of forward momentum on that, so you're pushing it against the eardrum. You want to kind of pull it and slide it across there very gently. There we go. It's just, you can see how it just starts to get suctioned in, and you'll see it almost jump towards the suction tube slightly, and that's when you know you've got a good grip. And this is where the endoscope comes into its own here, when you've got these very, very deep wax removals to do right on top of the eardrum. The endoscope just gives such a fantastic view down against, down this deep in the ear canal. With a lot of the other devices that people use, some people use loops and things which are magnifying lenses. Some people use ENT microscopes. Personally, I feel the endoscope gives me a better view. I know that's up for debate. Some other audiologists might find it, some of the other bits and bobs they use are good, but for this type of wax removal, it really, really comes into its own. So we're just loosening that bottom section now. It feels really strange not seeing myself on the screen, but we're just loosening this bottom section now. Because I've pulled it away a little bit, we've just got a little bit more of the wax to get a grip on. I can see it's really kind of stuck on that left-hand side. Never easy ones to do, these ones. In fairness, the patient was an absolute trooper. He was so good. He sat through the entire thing really, really well. Half the battle when you're an audiologist is having a patient that's willing to sort of let you get this away. Oh, it's really kind of wedged down there. I think this is going to come away in one piece. It's going to come away in certainly some bigger sections. I think it's just finding that slightly looser bit, just the one bit that has that little bit of movement to it, and it's going to be the key to this whole section down in here. You can see I've gently probed. I've gone from the very base right up the side. More olive oil going in. This patient's just kind of awash with olive oil at the moment, but we need that just because it's going to help to slide this out of that recess there. Oh, you can see I'm working on the bottom section there. Do you see that wax just jump? Now we've got the first bit. If we can get the next piece along to do the same thing. Oh, it's just lifting. Look how that is just coming up. There you go. There we go. So we're just getting this off the bottom of the ear canal wall there. Up that comes and takes a whole section with it. You can see how it looked very, very thin, tiny piece, but look at that coming out of the ear canal. Don't forget that's the ear canal entrance there. So very, very large piece settled down into that recess. So we've taken now. You can see the bottom section there is gone. You can see a little bit of loose sort of oil really around the outside edge and on the eardrum itself. That'll come away with baths and showers. You don't really need to do a lot with that. I wouldn't mind just taking just a little bit of this just above the top of the hammer bone there, so you can just see that's gone. A little bit of loose kind of oily debris really more than anything else. Let's see if we can just take a little bit of that patch there away. So same as before, very gently moving up to it. You can see it just touch the eardrum there. There we go. Let's just take some of that away. There you go. So that's gone. There's that little bit of loose. So you can see the patient just flinch a little bit there. Remember I said about the ear canal walls being really ultra sensitive? Well, that's all we did there was just touch the ear canal wall just ever so slightly, and the patient flinched a little bit. So this is what it looks pretty pathetic on there. It's just over 1.5 centimeters, 5/8 of an inch there. But yeah, I mean, it was more where that wax was, and we find that's quite a big thing with wax removals. You can have wax, a tremendous amount of wax, like our last patient in this video you're going to see in a bit, and sometimes patients who have this wax is much deeper, really against the eardrum. They cause far more issues than some of the patients who have large amounts in there. So we can see quite a narrow little ear canal for this. This is our second patient in the compilation here, so quite a narrow little ear canal. Also a very sticky type of wax. You can see as we lift this is more like that toffee or fudge consistency. I'm ruining everybody's Christmas, I'm so sorry, but you can see this is coming away really well. We got a good grip here. This looks more like a sort of a skin and wax combination here that's bound together, and that's what tends to form this much stickier toffee type earwax that you get here. But it's formed a really good seal on the outer part of the ear canal. So we've got to get rid of this section. You can see as we stretch this, you can see that skin section there coming down from the top left corner. So we're just going in now with a Jobson horn. It tends to be a little bit better for this type of wax. This type of wax, when you're holding onto it, and especially the skin debris as well, when you hold onto this with a suction, it doesn't really want to come out particularly well. It just kind of blocks the end of the suction. It's so there's so much kind of substance to it. It really holds on. It doesn't come out easily. So just scooching over put my teeth back in, over the next bit, trying to get behind this plug. What we'll do now, I've slowed this down because you're going to see this whole thing start coming forwards. There we go. You can see how it's all kind of unfolding from the ear canal as it comes away there. Good grip on this. You can actually see how it was trying to stick to the canal wall as we were taking that away, but a really thick, sticky piece of wax here. And we'll take a look behind that. You can see it took the whole thing away. Eardrum's actually looking really good there. Maybe a slight bit of dullness, but this time of year when colds and things are doing the rounds, that's to be expected. 5/8 of an inch, 1.5 centimeters again, exactly the same measurement as the last patient's ear canal. But you can see that came out of one ear canal, and you can see the consistency there is very different. The color is very different as well, much lighter in color. A lot of these skin removals that we get tend to be this much lighter color there. Right, last patient in this compilation. Now this is the chap I was telling you about last week. Oh my goodness, I read this chap's notes before he came in, and it mentioned that ENT had failed to get this wax out. The GP had tried to syringe it and hadn't got the wax out. He'd had lots of attempted wax removals, but no one had ever got him clear, and he stumbled across our videos on Facebook and booked in to see us. When I asked him how long ago this was, the gent did tell me that all that happened about 10 years ago. So this patient's been having waxes, never had their ears fully cleaned out in 50 years. So no pressure for us at all. But you can see there, we've got this he's loosened it in fairness with a little bit of olive oil. We've got this really light skin debris here coming away right at the entrance to the canal. I do forget at times, guys, to show you the bits that are coming out of the ear. I got a little bit excited because we were actually managing to clear this guy's ear. But you can see some of the softer and smaller bits coming away here. There we go. So much softer pieces. Patient, to give you some background, patient was experiencing some discomfort, some pain in their ears, especially if they got their head anywhere near water. So if any water got in, it was really uncomfortable, and that's quite a common problem when you have quite a big wax buildup. Patients find if they get any water trapped behind it, becomes really uncomfortable. So what we're doing here now is just loosening this section. And this was the sort of less full. That's not even a term, is it? It was the ear with the least amount of wax. That's the better way of saying it. In it, but the wax was very soft, which was great. I think if this had been completely solid, I think we may well have struggled. And I think that's probably why ENT struggled a little bit. But you can see it's coming away really well. So soften that away there. All looking very good. What's going on behind it? There we go. Now, this is the other reason this patient's been having some difficulty, especially when you get water in their ears. There's a perforation there that no one's seen before because this patient's never had his ears cleaned out. So this poor patient's been walking around with a perforated eardrum he didn't know anything about, and didn't understand why he was getting in so much pain when he was putting anything into his ear. Obviously, we advised to put some drops in, not knowing that this patient had a perforation because they didn't know themselves. So yeah, you can see that sometimes we need to get all this out just to see exactly what is going on. Now, this is the patient's other ear. This was there was a lot in this side, and it was really, really difficult to get out. So I tried a little bit of suction. Didn't touch it, didn't budge it at all. This wax is much, much harder, and we're gonna you can see we've gone straight in here with the Jobson horn. I'm trying to break this front section off. So I'll pan back a little bit in a second so you can see this coming away. But I've just taken this front section away here. Out, that is coming. There we go. Look at that coming away. Nice big chunky bit came away there, and you can see how that is only really just taken the front end off this wax. So I've just tried to go in that a little bit deeper. We've kind of hit this weird consistency of wax now. It's a little bit softer, this little bit further in. What I'm trying to do here is scoop around to the right side to try and hold on to any harder outer section. We talk about this armadillo wax we talk about a couple of times, which is just, you know, a phrase we've coined here just to describe it, which is hard on the outside and soft in the middle. So sometimes if you get a grip on that outer outer harder edge, it'll pull a big chunk away. But you can see that's all I'm doing here at the moment. Is taking away these outer sections, not really hard enough to get a good enough grip to pull this forwards. But we're just going to work on the next section. It tends to be a little bit deeper you go in, that harder that becomes. And what you just saw there was the Jobson horn actually flick off the top of this wax. So to get wax out like this that everyone else has struggled with, I do tend to have a little chat with the patient beforehand and say, look, we could probably do it, but you know, it might be a little bit uncomfortable at times just because it's been in here so long, and it's going to be perfectly happy form to the shape it is there. You can see how black that wax is, how dark it is. The light from the endoscope is just getting swallowed up by that wax. It's not being able to reflect off the canal walls, which is why it appears really, really dark in there. What I'm doing here is lifting the outside edge. So this is this harder kind of thicker husk, if you like, of wax that sits around the outside edge. A little bit of dry, dead skin in here as well, because it's been in here for such a long time. Getting a good grip here, a lot of turbo wiggling going on there, guys, to try and get this bit out. I'm wiggling my socks off to try and get that a little bit loosened. We've managed to loosen it off the edge here. So let's bring the crocodile forceps in here. A great little tool for getting these thinner sort of sleeves off the outside of the wax. There you go, all that dead skin's gone, which means that when we put the suction in again, now we can work that a little bit further down. You can see we're slowly exposing the canal wall here as well. Look how thick that wax is. That is a really good plug, and you can see all the dead skin as we peel this up and off the canal wall, all the dead skin coming away with it here. Really having to move this and juggle this around in here, and my job for this part is to try and loosen as much of this as I possibly can. What I'm looking for is, when I get the suction grip, is a little bit more movement. So imagine you've got something trapped in a tube. If it's stuck to the sides, when you move the front, it's not going to move too much. But if the sides are detached, you'll see a much better kind of wiggle when you move it back and forth. That's what I'm looking for on this particular plug. I've put the Jobson horn back in here now because I've loosened the edge. I'm hoping that I can get a good grip on that bottom section there. So I've got really kind of pushed down at the bottom, and look how that is sliding. See, just above the Jobson horn, you can see that whole thin husk of the outside of the wax there, all sliding forward. Now that's great. That means I think we can get this out. Up to this point, I was unsure we may not be able to do it, but now I've seen that movement, I know that we can get this plug out. So what we're going to do now is go over the top. We've managed to draw some of this plug forward. Let's try and use that husk on the side again. You could see, you might not have just spotted it, but just above where the Jobson horn was, that top section just moved forwards again. Okay, so let's try and work on that section. Let's try and bring this on. Just drop back a little bit so you can see this coming away. But just unfolded. It's Calm down, Rhys. It's nearly there. What we can see here. Let's get a good grip on this outer section. Let's try and use the thin section. If it travels all the way around this plug, as we pull this thin section, it's going to, look. It's going to pull that deeper section forwards. You see that whole thing start to come forwards now. Now we know we're definitely going to get this out. If we can get a good enough grip here with the crocodile forceps, this is definitely going to come away. Just broke away. We're nearly there. That's the grip we need. That one there. You can see the whole section pulling forwards. Let's draw this forwards. It just broke away on the outside edge. It just broke away. But what we're looking for here is it's bringing the rest of the wax with it, and that's all we need for this. We'll get you can see just how tough that outer section is there. We're going to use that against this plug. Let's keep pulling it. Look at it's coming away. Just missed it. There it is, just underneath. Look at this plug coming away. Look at the size of that. It is huge. And we'd already taken a load away. There's the eardrum there. So we can actually finally see this patient's eardrum. All this brown material here on the outside is discoloring to the skin, basically, this oil. But look at what we removed. I'm going to do inches first because that's 3¼ inches. 8 centimeters worth of wax. Look at that plug at the top. That is huge. That's 2.5 centimeters on its own. That's without the rest of the wax that came away. Such a massive plug. See, I told you it was worth waiting for this last one, didn't I? Wow, that was such a good one to do. Well, guys, I'm going to go and rest my voice because I got a little bit excited doing that. Guys, you're probably going to see a mixture of me voicing it over to camera and me doing the voiceover like this, just because I'm working between 2 clinics at the moment. I've got all my kit in one clinic, but I haven't got any in the other clinic. So I will try next week. I'm going to try and go back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday if I can. All right, but it might be a couple of these videos in between. Well, guys, look after yourselves. I'm going to go rest my voice this weekend. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take care of those lovely ears, everybody. And I'll see you again real soon. Bye, everyone.